Hi, before you continue on your timeline, you stop. You need to watch this video right now. This is an urgent call for all Americans to rise up and stand while we still can. So who am I and who are you talking with? My name is Kevin Porter. I'm running for Congress in Florida's 11th Congressional District. Though if you are watching from outside that district, it is completely okay. This is relevant for you, for anyone in America today, because what I'm going to tell you today has to do with the future of our country. This has to do with the future, your family's future, your friends' future, your success, your happiness, and the American dream itself. The American dream is under attack right now, and it's at the threat of actual extinction, if I may say so. Okay, so continue watching with me today as I talk about these facts. I talk about what's going on, secretly what's going on behind the scenes in our government, what's going on behind the scenes and the political situations going on right now. And you need to know this as an American, because we as Americans have an obligation to stand up and rise up when we need to take a stand against anything that is not and doesn't align with our American dream, that doesn't align with our founding principles, that doesn't align with our democracy, okay? So if you haven't noticed, first and foremost, the price of everything is going up. It's going up like crazy. You know, bread, gas, meat, whatever it may be, energy, everything is just skyrocketing. And why is that? Well, that's because there's something that happened behind the scenes, something critical and catastrophic that has happened behind the scenes that slipped under the radar, essentially, while we were all in panic mode, while we were all afraid, based on the information we got about the virus. I don't want to mention too many names, because if you say too much on these platforms, a lot of times they can filter, they can censor, they can take you off air. So I'm going to use some innuendo. I'm going to use some secret words, if you catch my drift, to explain things in a way that you'll be able to understand. I'll be able to understand, but the platforms won't take and throw me off this, because it is my duty to stand here in front of you. It is my duty to tell you these things and reveal these things to you. First and foremost, before I reveal and come into the nitty-gritty details, who am I? Who are you talking to? My name is Kevin Porter. I am running for Congress in Florida's 11th District. And like I said, this message is relevant for everyone. So even if you can't vote for me, that is okay. Please watch this broadcast. If you can vote for me, perfect. That's amazing. So what's my background? Where do I come from? Really briefly, I'm a family man. You know, I have 4 children, 2 boys, 2 girls. The oldest 15, the youngest is 7. I'm 39 years old. I've been married for 15 years. I'm a person of faith. You know, I respect if you do not. I respect if you have a different way of living, believing, because that is part of the foundational values of our country, is that everyone can be free to practice faith, religion, or not, as they will. And we who have faith need to respect that at all costs, okay? That is part of showing love as well to your neighbor. So anyways, I've been I'm a man of business. I've had several businesses online, and physical businesses as well. Mostly, believe it or not, in Brazil. That's another story for another time. A long time ago, I got to know Brazil. I met my wife there. She's Danish, actually. She's doing volunteer work there. I was doing volunteer work at a Christian organization, just helping out, the poor areas and stuff. And we met each other, fell in love. 4 children later, 15 years later, here we are, happily married, beautiful children, and ready to leave our legacy in this world however we can. And we have a dog, of course, a Labrador Golden Retriever mix. He's adorable, Toby. So I had several businesses, basically. They're flourishing, thriving, made a lot of money. I became really well known. I turned into a local celebrity in Brazil as well. Not local, actually international, where millions and millions of people saw my videos. I had a YouTube channel with over 500,000 subscribers, Facebook group with a couple 100,000 followers. Millions of people saw my videos. Like I said, I would get stopped in the street when I was there regularly. People would come up to me, take selfies, talk to me, and so on. And I'm not saying this to brag or anything. It's just what happens, as a matter of fact. So I created a really nice business on top of that, made a lot of money, had a good time. Then all of a sudden, the coronavirus, the pandemic hit. The China virus, let's just call it that, or whatever you want to call it. I'm not going to rifle any feathers here. But anyways, so the virus hit, things shut down, businesses were hit. My businesses were hit as well. And then I was at a crossroads. Do I pivot and innovate? Do I, build up even more in a different way, which I'm capable of? I know my marketing. I've made a lot of money. I know what to do. Or do I stop everything, drop everything, close everything, fire all my workers, and go into politics. Yeah, that's literally what happened. So I decided to, listen to the call and go into politics, essentially. I'm not a person that has a political background, and I think that's a good thing because I think there's too many career politicians, too many silver-haired politicians. Nothing against you, but a lot of you older politicians and stuff. Your time we're grateful for your time, but I think it's time for you to move over. In some cases, some people, it's time for you to move over and let the next generation step up. Like myself, I'm 39 years old, almost 40. I'm a father of four. I live like you guys do, who are watching me. A lot of you who have families as well, and it's time for us to, to really to heed the call, the new generation of politicians, right? Because in our democratic foundational principles of our country, we have a beautiful, beautiful, amazing thing, and that is we are allowed to elect anybody we want. Most countries, the majority of countries, you can't do that. You can't be a plumber who wants to run for a political office. You can't be a teacher. You can't be a businessman. You can't be a whatever else that runs for office. Why is it that way in America? Because we, the people, are the people. We want to vote for those who represent us, those who are us. And that's the secret behind the success of the United States of America. Why 90% of innovation came from America for many, many years. That is changing now. And we're no longer on the top. Or actually, we're still a little bit on the top, but we're falling quickly, behind to other countries like China, like India, like many others who are starting to speed up and get ahead. Because why? Because we're killing innovation as a country with government policies. We're putting pressure on the businesses like never before. An example of that is forcing all these businesses to close, like we did during the pandemic. Of course, in some cases, it may have been necessary if you see it that way or whatever. But nonetheless, I don't want to get into that now because I could turn it into a big discussion, and a heated debate per se. But essentially, we're the America's hurting business. It used to be the land of opportunities. My forefathers, they came from Sweden. They started Greyhound bus lines, which was the biggest transportation company at the time in the 30s and 40s. Before air travel was common and accessible and easy, everybody took the bus or train, and they were some of the richest people in the country. It's a land of opportunities where somebody could come from poverty, jump on a ship, come to America and innovate and start and get a part of a slice of that American dream where anything is possible, everything is amazing, right? I guess not everything, humanity's humanity, the earth is the earth, we have problems, but you know what I mean? Well, the great majority of things is wonderful. You can start a new life and you can have your slice of the American pie, right? That's no longer the case. Actually, it still is a bit, but it's quickly falling away. And this is where we need to rise up. We need to rise up as a country. We need to rise up as citizens, and we need to do something about this. And how do we do something about this? And what's going on? Let me tell you and reveal a little bit to you about that. So, when this pandemic hit, as we all noticed, right? And I'm not a pandemic, how would you call it, disbeliever, whatever. I believe there was a pandemic. I got it myself. I was really sick. So if you've gotten it yourself, if you have loved ones or people that have suffered or passed away, unfortunately, then my heart goes out to you, right? This virus was a real thing, but the way it was handled was horrible. Absolutely horrible. It was a state of constant fear and panic. Fear and panic creates what? It creates control. It creates government control. So the government, if they get you to be afraid, they get control over you if you believe it. And then it turns into us versus them thing. Either you listen to what the government is telling you, and you heed to that fear, and you join together with the other people that are afraid and do what they say, or you're a traitor. You're not unpatriotic. You're someone who, the people who were against lockdowns or people who were against a lot of things that happened in COVID, they were looked at as essentially traitors by the government in many ways, and it was, there's a lot of bad stuff in the States that happened during the pandemic, but there's even worse in other countries that I know of, places like Australia where the police would come to your house and arrest you, for speaking against it, stuff like that. And thank God that didn't happen as much in the States, but still a lot of stuff happened. So what's the point of this? Why am I talking about this? Because while we're in a state of fear for our lives, which in my opinion was unnecessary, it was necessary for people who had maybe health conditions, people who are maybe a little bit older. Hey, if we want to protect our seniors, we want to protect people who have those conditions, I'm okay with that. But people who are young, people who are healthy getting locked down, kids having to wear a mask, kids having to be locked down. I'm sorry, but I'm getting a little heated here, but man, come on, really? Come on. They're perfectly healthy, you know? Anyways, nonetheless. So what happened when the state of fear took hold of the world, actually, but, you know, in the United States, what did the government do? The government secretly pushed through an insane amount of agendas that caused us to head towards what I believe we're heading towards one of the biggest depressions in the history of the world or the United States. I believe that what we're heading towards could outshine the Great Depression. And the Great Depression, if you've heard anything about it, the Great Depression put 60+% of Americans unemployed on the streets, or not on the streets, but 60% plus were unemployed. You had people line up everywhere for soup kitchens. You know, there's a lot of, if you go into YouTube, you know, you can look up a lot of recipes from people who lived during that time, what they call the Great Depression recipes, where there's simple things, everything based on potatoes and simple foods and cheap foods and things that were expensive, like butter they didn't use, you know. And that was a time of suffrage. If you've ever met somebody who survived the Great Depression, who went through it, you'll notice that these people usually are extremely frugal. You know, the people that stuff their mattresses, the people that reuse bags, people that reuse everything. You know, I know a lady down the street here. She's a children. She was born in the Great Depression, but she's a children of parents that went through it. She saves everything. Every little tray she gets at the supermarket, she washes out. She has piles of it everywhere. And she doesn't need them, but she just has it inside of her. She has to, right? And that's not something I want to repeat. That's not something I want us to go through. That's not something I want my children to go through, right? We're fighting for our future generations right now. We're fighting for our children, their future, okay? Not just ours, but for our children's, to give them the opportunities and the chances that they deserve. That's why we're here. So what happened during the pandemic is the government got out of control with power, got power hungry, you know, and I'm not speaking against any specific political party. I'm independent myself. I'm neither with others, the other side, one side or the other. I'm independent, right? 65+% of Americans identify as being independent as well. So I think I speak for a lot of people when I say that. Nonetheless, during the pandemic, they printed and printed and printed money. They got all these agendas pushed through, right? And they printed trillions of dollars in money, in dollars, right? Trillions of dollars were printed, just came like that, right? You ever notice that every year the government goes into negotiations about the budget, they have to pass, or several times a year they have to pass the budget and this and that. But all of a sudden when the pandemic hit, there was money everywhere. Money for vaccines, money for tests, money for this, that, and the other thing. And then they close production down, right? You close essentially most all production down in the country. What happens there? When there's no production, you have no how would you call it? Merchandise. You don't have products. No production, you don't have products. It's simple. It's an equation, right? And when production is down, you know, a country cannot grow. Because let's put it to you that way. You want a pair of headphones, right? There's got to be headphones to buy, right? You need to get resources to buy and make these, or to make these headphones and sell them too. There's chips in here. There's lots of technology, right? So during the pandemic, the world closed down. Production stopped essentially, or halted for the most part. And then after the pandemic was coming to an end, what does the U.S. government do? They throw out stimulus money like it's candy. Like, hey, here, have some money, have some money. I got to admit, when I got my first stimulus check, I was like, whoa, what's going on here, right? God, that's a lot of money. Then when I got the second and the third and all the stimulus payments, that was a lot of money. And I have a family too, so it's a lot of money. And I'm going, man, that's a lot of cash. That's a lot of money that just came out of nowhere. And I couldn't help but think, you know, where does this money come from? What's going on here? Who's paying this bill? Who's going to foot this bill, right? There's no way the government has this money on hand. And I knew right away in my gut that it was, man, they're printing money. And what happens when you print money? Inflation. And if you print a lot of money, insane inflation, right? If you look at the current budget deficit, a debt, it's about $29 trillion. $29 trillion, right? Officially. When you print money, when the government just starts printing a bunch of money to use on a bunch of stuff, what does that do? That's an indirect tax to the American people. Because when you flood the market with cash, like you remember, shelves were empty a lot of places, you know, during the pandemic. You know, there's holes everywhere, but we had tons of money. The economy just went boom like this. But that's a house built on sand. It's a house that's been built on sand, and we know how that story goes, right? You can't build a house on sand, right? It has to be built on the rock. And we built our house on the sand, per se, giving a false illusion that our economy was booming post-COVID or whatever. But then what happens? Holes everywhere. There's production halted. We don't have merchandise. We don't have stuff to buy. So the price shoots up in the air. Supply and demand, right? Simple economics. You have too much demand, not enough supply. Man, things shoot up. Boom, like this. And that's what happens. And that's what happened. So now we're at the point where we're footing the bill. We're starting to foot the bill, because when there's all this money, people start throwing money in the stock market and crypto and buying stuff and watches and I don't know what cars. And now the stuff is starting to fall, right? Prices are starting to fall on some things, especially in the stock market and crypto market. But the floor is about to fall out, okay? Because why? Because beyond our production problems, beyond our inflation issues, beyond our housing bubble we're in right now, and beyond that, what's the other element? We have a war in Ukraine right now, a proxy war with Russia. Essentially, the United States got into a proxy war with Russia, a perfectly stoppable war. I mean, just reiterate, when Russia surrounded Ukraine, the government could have stopped them. They could have taken action, right, to stop the war before it started. But they didn't. They allowed Russia to invade Ukraine, okay? And this isn't conspiracy theory. You just have to watch and look at the facts. They allowed them to invade Ukraine. Why? Because there's an alliance going on. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Ukraine is the poster child for the West, and Russia didn't want that, right? So essentially what happens, they invade Ukraine. We send 75% to date of a lot of our stock of weapons to Ukraine. In fact, we're at a weapon deficit with arms, with anti-tank, with rockets, with a whole bunch of different weapons. You have to look it up to be sure. Don't quote me exactly on what weapons they are, but a lot of our weapons are down to 25% of the original stock. We don't have enough weapons to protect ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. And you notice that Russia and China right now are doing war games together. They're doing war exercises together to formally solidify the new Iron Curtain, to solidify the power in our west, to the west of us, against us. They're threatening us to our face. They're stepping up to us. They want to cut us off, right? And this war in Ukraine came at the perfect time. This isn't conspiracy theory, all right? This is a fact. That war in Ukraine began essentially when it started getting out in America, right? In our country. It started slipping out. We started seeing the news about the mismanagement during COVID, the printing of money and all that stuff. That starts slipping out and getting out little by little to the press. Then, bam, a war hits. Then our focus is what? 100% on helping Ukraine, right? 100% on passing more and more, what do you call it? Passing more and more acts, agreeing more and more in Congress to send more and more money and weapons to Ukraine. We're at a proxy war with Russia, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the verge of World War III. And I don't say this to scare you. I say this because it's a fact. Our government is out of control. The control going on, the oppression going on. Do you realize that the United States of America was a country that was founded based on free democratic principles? It was founded and started. Declaration of Independence was essentially a letter we nailed to the King of England's door saying that we will no longer suffer tyranny at your hands. We'll be a free country. We will be a free nation. We will form the first democracy, right? The first democracy based on Christian values. And that's a fact too. Our Constitution gives the freedom of belief. And that's how it should be. But our country has Christian values as its absolutes. I'm reading away from that too. We're seeing the consequence and suffering of that as well. Because when you align yourself with the Christian values, then you will notice things will be better and better. We will be well. We will be prosperous like we were before. You notice that when we go away from these values, that things get bad. And like I said, if you do not believe in God or in Christianity, I respect you. I respect your decision. But our country was founded on Christian values. And I can back that up all day long. So if you're still here with me, I want to thank you for continuing watching this. To continue to watch this, I'll be going live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We'll be talking more about these different aspects and elements. And as you can see behind me as well, this book, this is my book, Reviving the American Dream. 3 essential steps to winning back our country before it's too late. An urgent call for all Americans to rise up and fight while we still can. And here's what I want you to do. If you thought what I told, if you liked what I talked about today, if you thought it was interesting and relevant, first and foremost, like and follow this page. As I said, I'll be going live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, okay? 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I have a lot to tell you. I got a lot to share with you about. There's so much more. And this, the second thing I want you to do is get a hold of my book. It's free. No joke. Yes, I will send you this book free of charge. All you have to do is donate towards shipping and handling. And anybody can, not just the people in my district, District 11, Florida, right? Anybody in the United States of America, any U.S. citizen can get a hold of this book right now. All you have to do is at the bottom of this video, you'll see a text, pinned post, I guess you call it, or pinned comment. And it says, get my free book here. Click that link. Click that link right now. It'll bring you to a page. And on that page, I talk about this book. I tell you a little bit more about it. And on there, you have the option to get your copy. All you have to do is pay for shipping and handling. That's it. And the book is yours for free. I'll send it straight to your door. You may be asking, Kevin, well, can I get it like on Amazon, these other places? No. And there's a reason for that. Because a lot of these platforms, book platforms and so on, they're censorship, okay? And what I have to tell you about in this book, it would be censored, in my honest opinion. So I decided to go 100% free from that, okay? 100% free. And yeah, get it right away. Looks like the video stopped here. Get a hold of your copy right away. And thank you for joining me today.